everyone, so welcome to the second part of our topic right now. So we're going into first the manufacturing operations costs and terminology. So as you can see in the video, so this is an illustration showing the guitar making operations of the Legend guitars, which I actually introduced during the first video of this one. So guitar making process starts with the customer placing an order and for one guitar. So once that order is accepted, the manufacturing process would begin by obtaining the necessary materials. Then those materials would then be converted by an employee into parts of the guitar, such as the neck and body of the guitar, out of the raw lumber, of course. And after that has been done, it will be passed on to the assembly line, in which the body and neck would be assembled. And after the assembly is complete, the guitar would be painted and finished. So that would result to a finished product, which is the finished guitar. So what are the involved involved terminologies for this one? So in this case, let's go first with the materials. So there are what we call direct and indirect cost. So direct costs are identified with and can be traced to a cost object. For this example, the cost of the wood is considered as a direct cost because it can be traced to the final product, which is the guitar. The indirect costs cannot be identified with or traced to a cost object. And in this case, an example for this one is the salary of a production supervisor, because production supervisors do not directly contribute to the production of the guitar, because their salaries cannot be identified with or traced to any individual guitar. So depending on the cost object, a cost may be either a direct or indirect cost, so depending on the actual product. So since the production supervisor in this case, his salary is considered as an indirect cost. However, if the cost object of this specific company is the overall production process, then the salaries of production supervisors would be considered as direct cost. Okay, so after classifying, this is you can see here how classification of direct and indirect cost is made. So you identify the object. Next is you determine whether the cost can be identified with and traced to the object. If it's traceable, it is considered as direct cost. If it's not traceable, then it's indirect cost. So now let's proceed with the manufacturing costs. So the manufacturing cost refers to direct materials cost, direct labor cost, and factory overhead cost. When we say direct material cost, this refers to raw materials that would still be converted into finished products. So the cost of any material that is an integral part of the finished product is also classified as direct materials cost. So for direct labor cost, usually employees that are directly involved in converting materials into finished products, their salaries, wages is an integral part of the finished product and classified as direct labor cost. And factory overhead are costs other than direct materials and direct labor. So this involves heating and lighting at the factory, repairing the maintaining factory equipment, property taxes, insurance, depreciation, and things like that. So additional factory overhead would also include indirect labor cost and indirect material cost. So for the guitar, as for legendary guitars, indirect materials will refer to sandpaper, buffing compound, glue, powder, and it would also the indirect cost would also involve salaries of production supervisors. So let's proceed with an exercise. So identify the following costs as direct material, direct labor, or direct factory overhead for a baseball company glove manufacturer. So first is leather used to make a baseball glove. So how do you classify that one? Is that direct material, direct labor, or factory overhead? Actually, that is referred to as direct material. So second, coolants for machines that sew baseball gloves. Do you consider this direct material, direct labor, or factory overhead? So that would be referred to as factory overhead because you cannot trace the coolant directly, or it's not traceable to any of the finished product for a baseball glove manufacturer. So third one, wages of assembly line employees. So this is actually referred to as direct labor because this is part of the direct conversion of the materials into a finished product. And lastly, the ink used to print the player's autograph on a baseball glove. What is it? Is it direct material, direct labor, or factory overhead? So actually that is factory overhead because direct overhead because it's neither direct material nor direct labor. Ink cannot be traceable to one particular product, to one particular finished good. Okay? So with those three terms, direct materials, direct labor, and factory overhead, we now go to the other definitions. So the prime cost and the conversion cost. So this actually stems from the three major terminologies of manufacturing costs. So for the first one, the prime cost is actually the direct materials and the direct labor. So this is referred to as, sorry for that one, as prime cost. So how about conversion cost? So the conversion cost refers to direct labor and factory overhead. For mnemonics purposes, you write direct materials first, direct labor, and third one would be factory overhead. The first two would be the primary cost, and the last two would be the conversion cost. Okay? So given the exercise previously, let's now determine whether or not it is a prime cost, a conversion cost, or both for as a baseball glove manufacturer. So for A, leather used to make a baseball glove. Since this is direct material, what is this? This is a prime cost. Okay. So the coolants for machines that okay, sorry for that one. My shop is so noisy. Coolants for machines that sew baseball gloves. So that's factory overhead. So we refer to that as conversion cost. How about wages for assembly line employees? So since it is a direct labor, and direct labor is present in both primary cost and conversion cost, so it's both. And letter D, ink used to print on a player's autograph on a baseball glove. So That's factory overhead, so that's conversion cost. Okay. So aside from those two categories, we also look into product cost and period cost. Okay. So for financial reporting purposes, they are segregated that way. So product cost consists of manufacturing costs such as direct materials, direct labor, and factory overhead, while period cost refers to selling expenses and administrative expenses. Okay. So this is actually what they call a classification according to the purpose of generating revenues. So for this, if we refer this to the example previously given, a leather used to make a baseball glove. So this is considered as a product cost since this is a direct material. Cost of endorsement from a professional baseball player. So this is a period cost. So I think I copy pasted that wrong. Okay. Office supplies would be used at the company headquarters would be period cost. And lastly, ink used to print a player's autograph on the baseball glove, since this is an indirect cost, part of the manufacturing cost. So this is a product cost. Okay. So we'll now proceed with the financial statements for manufacturing businesses. So as you can see here, the balance sheet for manufacturing business, the main difference with this one with a non-manufacturing or a merchandising company is that it involves or shows materials inventory. In merchandising companies, it's not complicated. You just look at merchandise inventory. For manufacturing, it involves finished goods, work in process, and materials inventory. So sometimes materials inventory is referred to as raw materials inventory. Work in process is that is still being converted, so that consists of direct materials, direct labor, and factory overhead. They have entered into the manufacturing process already, but they are not yet done or completed, so they are still referred to as work in process. Inventory, just think of it as the definition is at the term itself. And finished goods inventory, so this is this consists of completed and or finished products already that has still not been sold. Okay. So how about the income statement for a manufacturing company? So the main difference for this one is that for merchandising business, in determining the cost of merchandise sold, you only need to know the merchandise available for sale and the ending merchandise inventory. However, for manufacturing businesses, you need to consider the cost of goods that have been manufactured, finished goods available for sale before you will be able to arrive at the cost of goods sold. Okay, so I've provided you a statement of the cost of goods manufactured. So this one, you have seen this in your cost subject, and we'll be using this throughout the semester. I want you to please memorize this by heart. You will have to know this by heart because you will face this during the board examinations. So please do not take this for granted. You really need to memorize this one. You need to understand this one. So first is you need to determine, to understand the direct materials, how you compute for the direct materials. So you just compute you just need the amount for the beginning and then how much was added to purchases. So those would be considered as cost of materials available for use. But of course, we have ending materials because if we deduct that one with the available for use, then that would result to the direct materials that was used. For direct labor that is computed, factory overhead that is computed, so those three would be referred to as total manufacturing costs incurred. So the direct labor, the direct materials, factory overhead for that specific period is referred to as total manufacturing cost incurred. So if you add that one with the beginning work in process, the work in process that were not done in the previous month but was continued in the current month, if you add the latest addition, that would be referred as the total manufacturing cost. And if you deduct the ending work in process inventory, then you get the cost of goods manufactured. So how much was the total goods manufactured for the month, the finished goods that were made for the month. So with that, if you add that with the beginning finished goods inventory, you get the cost of goods available for sale. And if you get the cost of goods available for sale and you deduct the ending inventory, then you get the cost of goods sold. Okay, so actually what would I be needing from you is a statement of cost of goods sold. So you just put in your notebooks, in your notes. So again, all throughout the semester, what is important for me with the statement of cost of goods sold and not just the statement of cost of goods manufactured. This statement also serves as your formula in computing the cost of goods sold and any other parts of the specific statement, because if you will be able to understand and what do you call this one, and memorize this, then it will not be hard for you to work back when there are when there are amounts that needed to be computed. Okay, so for purposes of, okay, let's wait, let's check the part continue. So let's go first in the flow of manufacturing costs. So as you can see here in the flow chart, the direct materials, direct labor, and factory overhead would go into the used one would go to the manufacturing process and would actually yield, if it's still unfinished, to work in process inventory. If it's finished, it's under finished goods inventory. Of course, unused direct materials would be shown in the balance sheet as materials inventory. So the sold part of the finished goods inventory would then be transferred to the cost of goods sold, which is found in the income statement. Okay, so let's now go to our example. So I have actually uploaded a PDF file for you to refer. So that's a sample. So in the sample given, I've placed the beginning and ending inventories for materials, work in process, finished goods, and the materials purchased, direct labor, and factory overhead. So I'll be discussing that one on a separate video. So that would be the example all throughout. So after this one, I'll give probably a short quiz that would be open on Friday. That's open during the time only of our allotted time only for this subject. So I need you to go through over this videos. I think this is for this specific topic we will have 3 videos. So I need to go over through that, research and study. If you have questions, ask in the comment section below or in the work stream where I'll also be posting this one. So please ask, okay? There's no harm in asking. Okay, so I'll see you in the next video for the example. Thank you very much.